Having an affordable SUV.
Okay.
That seems to be fairly solidly built. It's very green, and it's got great tech, and the brand is Ascendant. Ascendant. It's a brand that I think, this is why I wanted Kevin to join us, because I don't actually know how well they do, but I see more and more of them on the road, and I know that they have a really cool new logo.
Yep, like that.
And I'm talking about a Kia, obviously.
So
Love
this is
the new
Kia
logo.
Sorrento?
It's been, a couple of years since they made that new logo, and I feel like it allows a whole new customer to buy into the story, because it just is a way to break.
Is it Korean?
To break from the past. Yeah.
Okay.
When they first came out, Kias and Hyundais, you thought, okay, this is great, a $20,000 Econo box I can drive for a few years till it breaks. But now I think it's a very different story. Kevin, let me bring you in here and get your take on, the quality of these vehicles, the abilities of these vehicles, and, for example, the Telluride, the Kia Telluride. I feel like that could be cross-shopped with a Range Rover, and it costs like a third the price. So what do you think about Kia?
Yeah, that is an interesting story, because it's, the two brands, Hyundai and Kia, have moved from the entry and move-up market to higher price points and intensified their truck versus car mix. They were 43% truck as recent as 2018. Now they're 70%. So just think about what that's done for their average transaction price. Their profit and revenue contribution has been significantly stronger than it was when it was known as a Econobox brand. And what they did, that transition was really motivated and helped and advanced by the idea of the 10-year, 100,000-mile drivetrain warranty, right? So they had a
wow, 10 years and 100,000 miles
on the drivetrain.
Usually,
right?
it's like 3 years and on the drivetrain. So a lot of times those will be 5 years and 60,000 or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So basically, it gave people protection that said, if you have concerns about quality, here's how we're going to deal with that, and it's the best warranty in the industry. And then as they've moved up market, which if you think even about Tesla, right? Tesla comes in at the highest price points and then tries to move down. And every automaker tried to do that to gain scale and volume. Think about Mercedes moving down market and BMW moving down market. Hyundai Kia did it the opposite, right? They started at the bottom of the market, won loyal customers at the entry and move up level. That warranty was a big part of it, proved their quality had improved. And now there's even the Genesis brand, which is legitimately competing at the higher end of the market with the Land Rovers. But
Genesis is so Honda has Acura, and Toyota has Infiniti, Nissan has Infiniti, Toyota has Lexus, and Genesis is like Hyundai's version of that.
Yeah, because what happened was, there was a period where Hyundai Kia came out with full-size sedans to compete with 7 Series BMW or S-Class Mercedes, and people kind of laughed it off like there's no way I'm spending $75,000, $80,000 for a K900 Kia or a Hyundai Equus.
They wouldn't even do it for a Volkswagen Phaeton.
Right, so they created this new brand and put all the high-end stuff in there, and it's actually worked pretty well. My wife will, believe it or not, and she's a kind of strange, not car person, but will
hopefully your wife's not listening.
Only buy Hyundai. She will only drive Hyundai.
Really?
Yep,
that's interesting. So she must be very happy about the progress they've made.
You mentioned Telluride, so she has a Palisade calligraphy, and it's almost like you can load that thing up with every piece of technology and the warranty and the whole thing, and you're still at a very, very reasonable price point.
And they look awesome. I mean, you must have seen the Kia Tellurides.
Oh, yeah.
Such cool-looking vehicles. Now, the Sorrento doesn't look quite as cool, but it's got great features. For example, since it's a hybrid, there's a physical button you can press to switch from full EV to hybrid EV. Or when you're turning left, and you can't, obviously there's a blind spot, but a screen in your dashboard shows you what's in your blind spot. Same when you're obviously turning right. And it's got a center locking diff. Like it's got torque vectoring.
A what? A what?
You can lock the center diff.
What's the diff?
Differential.
What's a differential?
In case you're so that the wheels can move at different speeds. But if you're stuck in a place, you can make them all move at the same speed so that you can get better traction. It's got torque vectoring all-wheel drive, which is I first heard about torque vectoring when I was a kid. I think reading Road and Track about a Porsche. So it's pretty impressive that Kia has this technology. I mean, they've really.
What's the price point, Matt?
I think it's $50,000 for the loaded up one for the top trim,
and if you think 48,000 is average in the industry these days, so right there, and that's the point is that bang for the buck, you're getting all the technology.
Now they don't. Correct me if I'm wrong, Kevin, but they don't get a tax credit on the green vehicles like a Ford or a GM. Would, right? Because they're not a union shop, not made in the U.S., all of them. So
correct.
What's the story?
The rules of origin of the components and things like that. I don't have the, believe it or not, list memorized off the top of my head, but I believe that would be correct.
I pretty much do. So,
so Kevin, are the Korean and Japanese automakers, are they as committed to EVs as, I don't know, some of the others? I mean, it just seems